What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Average Joe Sports Podcast. As always, your boy Don here in LA, and I got my partner in crime, Albert, in beautiful Sacramento. What's up, man? How you been?
What's happening, brother? Doing well. How you been?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Enjoying the summer, trying to beat the heat as best as possible. I know it's been fucking blazing probably up there in Sacramento. We've been getting some heat down here. Yeah, I know it's hot as hell up there.
I forgot. I saw you in the flesh a couple weeks last week.
That's right. That's
Man, baby.
Yeah, that's right. I did. I had to go up there and
some skin to skin
good
contact.
times, man.
Oh yeah,
for
man.
sure. It's always good hanging out with my boy in the flesh and seeing what Sacramento's all about. Obviously, we talked on a non-sport issue, but we talked about what happened in Sacramento, right? Like the whole shooting that happened in the downtown area that was not too far from my hotel room. That was pretty gnarly.
Wild.
That was pretty nuts, man. I mean, it's just kind of scary, right? Not to get into too much into that, but like that's happening across the country. It's pretty wild. But nonetheless, it was good seeing you. Good seeing some familiar faces that I was around for many, many years in my life. But without further ado, let's get into it. Obviously, the last couple of episodes has been a little bit, choppy, a few breaks here, but a lot of the episodes have been kind of tailored to fantasy football, whether it's dynasty or redraft. I think this time would be fun to kind of get back into as a midsummer. We get a lot of rumors across the board for all the major sports, kind of cover all those bases and kind of analyze or discuss, some of those rumors and some of the things that actually are factual that have happened across the board. So without further ado, I think we always got to start off with our main baby, and that's the NFL.
Yes, sir.
Quarterback. Obviously, the biggest position in the sport. Let's start off with Baker Mayfield. Obviously, we know in the offseason, Browns traded for Deshaun Watson, rightfully so, and probably still rightfully so, right? Even though amidst all the rumors, all the skepticism because of all the allegations and whatnot.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
From what they paid, it's hard to argue that, but like just from not marginal, just a huge upgrade in talent, and Watson to Mayfield, that is such a big upgrade. So I see why the Browns do it. With suspension coming, I don't know if he'll justify the pay, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, Baker was bound to be traded, and he eventually did, and now he has a home with Carolina.
Right. So Baker Mayfield, just the facts, right? Baker Mayfield traded to the Carolina Panthers for the conditional 5th-round pick in 2024 that for some variables could turn into a 4th-round pick. I think it's based off starts or whatever the case may be. But nonetheless, 2024, kind of mid-late pick for Baker Mayfield. Obviously, we know Baker Mayfield, he's had, the shoulder injury, and then kind of the performance hasn't been there, at least in the last year or two for him. And then also he's, a free agent to be, right? And he's an unrestricted free agent after this season. So there's obviously risk there as well, coming off the injury, the performance and all that. So I guess 4th or the 5th-round pick is probably, on base for Baker Mayfield. I guess, what do you think this means for Carolina Panthers? Because the rumor is that this is still an open competition. Do you think that's all fluff? Do you think that's
no?
Just,
it definitely should be open competition. If Sam Darnold outperforms him, he should start. I think. I mean, Baker Mayfield was the first pick, and then Darnold was the 3rd pick in that draft, right? So now they have 2 of the top 3 picks in the 2018 draft. Yeah. Carolina owes nothing to Darnold, owes nothing to Mayfield. So yeah, now the best man will win. I don't know how well Mayfield makes their record overall. Maybe like by a win or two if he does win the competition. But it's a solid move. I like what they did. They didn't give up much. If he's healthy and he starts, it'll be a 4th-round pick. If Darnold wins the competition or Mayfield gets hurt for a few games, he'll turn to a 5th. Not a crazy price for a quarterback in the league. That's a former number 1 overall pick. So it's a solid addition, but I don't know if it solves their future at quarterback is my biggest issue. They're kind of just they're swimming uphill battle. I don't know. Eventually, they'll have to pick top 3 to get a quarterback that they want. Like, I don't know. They might be better off. I know their ownership wants to win now, and their coach is on the hot seat, so they couldn't tank for a top 3 pick and get CJ Stroud or something like that. That would have been ideal and probably best for their future, but they got Baker instead, so they'll try to work their magic with him. And they got a healthy C-Mac and DJ Moore, and Robbie Anderson will be a lot better this year with him. They've always had terrible quarterback play. They've been bottom 5 quarterback play for as long as C-Mac's been around. So now they'll have at least a top 20 quarterback. So yeah, I'm looking forward to their weapons offensively at least. I don't know about their team; they're going to be a lot better overall, but like their weapons all around them should be better.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is a low risk move that you make, right? Because
low risk.
Giving away the fifth round pick in the 2024 draft, there's not a lot of risk associated with it, right? Obviously, there's no pressure to play Baker Mayfield if the production is not there, if he's not healthy, whatever the case may be. So I think this was the right move for both parties. I think the Browns, obviously, they didn't have a lot of leverage. They wanted to kind of get rid of this issue, right? They've already got enough distractions on their plate, right? So obviously getting rid of Baker Mayfield, getting some level of a pick for him obviously made sense on their end. So it makes a ton of sense probably for both teams. And then obviously you have Matt Corral in the mix. So with that being said, Matt Corral, obviously the pick, third round pick, 94th overall out of Ole Miss. So what do you think if you are from a fantasy perspective? I know I'm just kind of spitballing this. If you had to own one of them, which one would it be right now?
I don't know if I could pick up Matt Corral. He's definitely gonna be a free agent. Like I don't think I'll draft him with one of my 17 picks or how big the roster is gonna be in your football team. Darnold has a little bit better rushing perspective, but that doesn't really matter because C-Mac's gonna be healthy. So I probably go Baker, a little higher draft capital. I'll probably go Baker, but he'll be definitely a late round pick, obviously. I think Baker.
Yeah, I think I would say.
He's a proven little better, not barely, a proven track record. Darnold hasn't done anything really, and he's just all based off of physical attributes with him. So, but Baker, I'll pick him up, I guess, if I had to pick one of the 3.
Yeah. Gun to the head, I'm taking Baker Mayfield. I think he's got the highest ceiling, and I don't know how high that ceiling is, but he's definitely got the highest ceiling of the 3 in terms of the redraft league. So, Baker Mayfield is a pick. We'll see how that pans out. I think
it's a wake up call to him. It's a wake up call. Like you got traded, you're number 1 overall pick. You're one team away from being a backup forever, and I don't know if I can see him as a backup with his personality. He's supposed to be, he does have that was one of the things when he got drafted. Like, oh yeah, he's got that it factor. He's got that swag kind of, but rumor has it, it's been like he's been a locker room problem, and none of his teammates seem to like him that much over there in Cleveland. But
I can see, honestly, we're fucking fans. So I mean, we're not in the locker room, but just from what I've seen, I can see me not meshing with this guy. He's it is too much, From what we've seen, it's I don't know. I mean, I'll shut the fuck up because I need to get my money as a receiver, running back, or whatever I am. But no, he ain't my guy. That's not my guy. That's my guy because it has to be, but that's not my guy.
Yeah. I feel
for sure. But so we'll see how it pans out. I think we're probably in agreement to this that this doesn't really do much at all. If anything, it's kind of probably a lateral move in terms of the people around him. Fantasy, like Chris McCaffrey, DJ Moore. We know DJ Moore, Chris McCaffrey, they've had that level of success for pretty much bottom of the fucking barrel quarterback. So I think it's pretty much the same. Nothing really gets elevated as much. I mean, we'll see what happens with Robbie Anderson, but I think it's pretty much status quo in terms of, C-Mac, DJ Moore, and all the other.
I don't know if it affects C-Mac as much, maybe, but I think DJ Moore, instead of him being a 4th round receiver, I could see him getting bumped up 3rd round, getting bumped up 5 spots in the wide receiver rankings, 4 spots in the wide receiver rankings. But I'm a little more excited for DJ Moore for sure.
Okay, all right, fair enough. So now that we've gotten that kind of out of the way. That was kind of one of the dominoes, right? And we've all been waiting on what's going to happen with Jimmy G. So Jimmy G, obviously, Trey Lance is the guy. All signs indicate that this is finally the year where that this is going to be the guy. This is going to be your start, day 1. So now the question is, what happens with Jimmy G? And obviously, a little background, he had the shoulder injury that probably stalled some talks, right? Obviously, you're going to get traded. You have to go through physicals. You have to go through all of that to make sure that he's healthy and to maximize his value. So now he's at a point where The suitors, in terms of his cap hit, right? As of right now, I think his cap hit is like 26 million. Obviously, that'll be negotiated on the trade, depending on how much the Niners are going to take on and how much the end user is going to take on as well. And I believe if they drop him before week 1, I think the cap hit was only like 1 or 2 million. But obviously, they would get nothing. They would get nothing for him. So you're the Niner fan. You're the subject matter expert. Where do you see? I mean, maybe Seattle's like the only drop in the bucket. What do you see happening with Jimmy G? What's going to happen, my man?
Well, it's going to happen by the end of this month. They finally had to wait for him to get healthy, and reports say he's been throwing these past couple of weeks. So now he can pass a physical, and if he does pass a physical, they can cut him with not as much money guaranteed to him.
Right.
But it's so hard to see him get traded, even though I ultimately see him getting traded just because one of the teams that don't think they'd be able to sign him will trade for him. You know, like if you're a team that doesn't think Jimmy will be interested as much in them, they might make a little low ball offer, and ultimately, it's a weird position for the Niners too, because like this might be a little far fetched, but if he stays with the roster and he owes him that full amount throughout the whole year, and he signs with another team the next year, they'll get a 3rd-round comp pick most likely.
Right.
Because what amount of money he'll sign next year to another team, so that's a 3rd-round comp pick. Like, I don't really see the Niners getting a 3rd-round pick right now and just a straight-up deal with another team. It'll be close, maybe third, fourth conditional pick. But yeah, like you said, the Seahawks, that's another sticky scenario too, because in the same division. But I wouldn't care. Trade him to the Seahawks. I don't care. Whoever offers them most, like Seahawks, whatever, he can have them. Jimmy G does not scare me as a Niner fan. And then Cleveland Browns, if you're there at the Niners front office, you got to be praying that Deshaun Watson gets a big suspension, because if they do, they're totally in win-down mode because of what they paid for Deshaun Watson. And they have some cap space. They're only playing Deshaun Watson $1 million now, or this year. So that could be a scenario. Depends how much he gets suspended for. And then maybe like outside shot, we like the Patriots, backup Mac Jones, maybe Tom Brady. That'd be super weird with the Bucks, but it could work out. You can have him for long term, and Brady's not guaranteed to play next year. So there's some scenarios there. You got to go fishing a little bit, but there's some scenarios. But ultimately, you're gonna have to do a Baker Mayfield scenario where each party pays a little bit of the salary, because he's not a 26, 24 million quarterback right now. He's gonna take 8 million, 6 million, and you're gonna have to end up paying him 6 to 8 to 4 million for this year. But I think there's a sort of hope for him to be traded. But it's going to happen before camp, because if he's on the roster at camp, I don't see him reporting to camp. That's what's going to be weird. It's unnecessary drama. But if there is a quarterback and a team that can be okay with it, it is Jimmy G. It's not Baker Mayfield. That's going to it's Jimmy. It's a cool guy.
Right.
I know him. He's super cool.
Yeah, you don't.
He's just it's low maintenance. It's not something crazy. Trey Lance and Jimmy G are well spoken in the media. They're just, I think if anyone could have them in camp and can work with a weird situation, it's these 3 parties: Lance, Jimmy G, and the Niners.
Yeah, I see. If I had to predict right now, I think that he's going to get released at some point. I mean, obviously, I think trade is still out there. It's up in the air, but I think the favorite should be that he's going to get released at some point. It just makes a ton of sense. I mean, I think Cleveland Browns, like you stated, would be a great situation for Cleveland if there's an extended amount of time. Say Sean Watson misses a whole year, 12 games, whatever the case may be. Jimmy G is a great buffer, and at the same time, there is some incentive for him to go there, right? Obviously, he's going to be an unrestricted free agent next year. Great O-line, great running backs, decent receiver is, tight end. I mean, it's a good situation for him to be on a good team, show that he can be on a winner and, produce wins, right? So he's never going to be that, guy that's going to be the reason why you win, but he can prove that he's not going to be the reason why you lose, I guess. So we'll see what happens with Jimmy G. I guess the final thing is we just had the trade, N'Keal Harry. Patriots 2019 end of the first round pick. I think it was 31st, 32nd overall.
Second receiver taken.
Yeah, big receiver out of ASU, and that's the key. I think so he got traded to the Chicago Bears, right? I think this Yeah, I think this is a decent trade. Obviously, he's done. His time here at the Patriots is done. I don't
Yeah,
think there's anything left for him to be there. But I think that the key here is that, it's not a special weapon. It's not a big weapon. But at once upon a time, this person had eye upside. And Fields, he has some weapons, and the weapons that he does have, they aren't your typical, number one receiver size, everything, right? He's got Byron Pringle, he's got Darnell Mooney. Darnell Mooney's special, right? But he's not going to be your number one. He should be, a solid number two,
yeah.
at least in my guesstimation. So I think N'Keal Harry, at the very
Commit to
least,
the solid option.
you get another red zone option
Yeah.
for Fields.
Yeah,
So
and it's a different type of body than Mooney. Mooney's a little more skinnier, slender, smaller guy. Harry's a little bigger, so it's a good little variation there. Seventh round pick, 2024 too, I think, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think he requested a trade last offseason too. So and then he ended up Bill Belichick's like, no, fuck you. I'm just gonna
Bill Belichick, motherfucker, on my time.
Yeah, and then he didn't do much this year. I liked him coming out of the draft. But like we were talking before we recorded, the Patriots do not know how to draft receivers. They do not.
No,
they could trade. They could trade for them, but like right now, they do not know how to draft receivers. They could draft everything else, but receivers is not Bill Belichick's strong suit right now. But yeah, Bears. Right. I love that. Get Justin Field. I hurts to be a Justin Fields fan and have the weapons he has around him. But that's something. It's not nobody. It's a little bit more.
It's a low risk move.
Yeah,
shot in the dark. That's first round pick.
Yeah, and
we'll see how that goes. Transitioning into NBA. Obviously, we're a few weeks removed here, but Warriors won the championship, obviously. But we wanted to talk about Steph Curry and what that means for his legacy. And I'll let you start this off. Where's Steph Curry now after the championship in your all-time rankings? Where do you got Curry at?
So I'm not going to be too bold. I probably had Curry top 30, top 25 before this win in the finals and MVP. Got finals MVP. Come on now.
Right.
I'll take him top 10. The order doesn't matter. He's probably between 7 and 10. But here's the names I have probably before him. Jordan, LeBron, Bird, Wilt, Kobe, Shaq, Magic, Kareem. And he's probably sitting at 9, maybe. Duncan's probably at 10. You could swap him. But yeah, top 10 locked in, I think, for sure, man. He's a lockdown shooter. He's a baller, a winner. It took a couple years to get going. But I think if he wins another chip, which is totally possible, the thing with this team, they didn't go all in this year to like sell their soul to win. They got Draymond that's aging a bit. They lost a couple pieces, but they got some more pieces in. They got a threesome of young trio, like ballers coming in. We'll see how well they do, Kuminga and Wiseman especially. But they didn't sell their soul to win this year, so they're built to last. And Curry's not like an athletic freak, and he's not going to age badly. He's going to age pretty good, I think. But if he wins another one, I could see him replacing Shaq, Kobe, Bird maybe, and getting up to top 7, top 6. If he wins the chip, I can swap out maybe Kobe and Shaq for him and get into that 7, 8, 6 spot. Maybe Magic too. But top 9 for sure for me. What you got?
I got. I'm not too far off. I think I got Curry probably to start off the next 10. I got him probably around 10 to 12, 10 to 13. And for me, it's just the talent. Okay, so that he's got the 4 titles, but obviously he's got, he's had a tremendous amount of talent around him as well. Kevin Durant, immediately you got to remove that, whatever happened that year. I mean, obviously he wasn't even the best player on the team at that point. Kevin Durant was definitely the best player on the team. But for me, what keeps me from putting him above, a lot of these players, Shaq, Kobe, Duncan, Will, even Olajuwon, and Bill Russell, it's hard for me to put him up there when he's never contributed that much on defense, right? He's never been on an all-B defensive team. He's never been even, close to that. I don't want to say he's a huge liability on defense because he's not.
No.
But he's not. He's not, he's not a Bryant,
earlier,
Duncan.
Early in his career, he a little bit was, but recently he's been pretty good defensively. Not like outstanding or like he's not been a liability. but earlier a little bit. But this past 3 or 4 years, yeah.
Right, and then to compare, I mean, he's had great seasons, right? Obviously, but if you even take all of his great seasons, right here, he's had 8 All NBA, 8 All Star seasons. However, all these other guys are having 18, 15 All NBA, all defense. I mean, complete players for X amount of time, right? So obviously, Curry is climbing fast. If you, like you mentioned, if he continues to trend, continues to win, without the likes of Kevin Durant, him being clearly the best player like he was very special this last finals run, right? Averaging 35, 36 points. I think it was like 36.7 on the road in Boston. Something crazy like that. He's definitely trending up, but he hasn't quite, he hasn't done it for long enough at that top peak, being the best player on that team and all this and that, for long enough for me to put him over the likes of a Shaq, Will, Bird, those type of guys just yet. If he continues to do so, I can't ignore it.
Yeah. I think I get what you're saying with defensive all-around game, but he's just such an offensive powerhouse that I could give him some slack on the defensive end. Like, I'm cool with him not being the lockdown defender or being just as good as a defender as LeBron or Michael Jordan, whatever. Kobe,
right?
Yeah, he was pretty. Actually, he had a couple all defensive teams, right? So
12.
yeah, but like he's not getting those really 12. Jesus.
Yeah, 12. He was Kobe was a monster in the beginning of his. I mean, he was nice.
What was I going with
that?
What was I going with that? I lost my train of thought. But yeah, so he didn't score. He's not averaging 33, 34 points per game like Kobe did or Michael Jordan. But he goes through these like Super Saiyan modes in the game where he goes on like a 12, 14 point scoring spree. And that's just a game changer. And then sometimes the Warriors been so good that he doesn't even play the fourth quarter, especially the year with Kevin Durant.
Right.
So he wasn't able to get the numbers that he maybe should have. But like those in-game moments that like if you're watching the games and or the highlights, that's like a game changer. That's what Curry is. And I'm kind of basing my stuff off of like NBA, like I don't know how to explain this. Not like numbers per se and like championships, but kind of just like game changers and kind of Curry has just changed
the eye
game.
test.
Exactly. Or he's just changed the game. He's kind of like he made that game like Allen Iverson kind of changed the game too. Michael Jordan. But Curry, he's brought a new evolution to basketball, and that's what
if you had to create a NBA Mount Rushmore, Steph Curry should be on that somewhere. He should be one of the guys. In terms of impacting the game. He's impacted the game greatly, right? Just like Michael Jordan, Allen Iverson, Kobe's of the world, Kareem, Magic, all these guys that impacted the game greatly, right? So yeah, you got him at 9. I got him right after you. I think the reason why we have him so high and I have him so high is because he's, obviously he hasn't produced on the defensive level, but he's so tremendous on the offensive end where you cannot continue, you can't ignore it, where you have to continue to have him climb. I just want to get to a point where he's had 12 of those seasons, of those great offensive seasons. Then it's like, okay, we have to move him up. But okay, so we got Curry there. Let's get into the draft. There's a lot to discuss about your Sacramento Kings. Don't tell me the bullshit that is not. Don't give me the bullshit that is not your. Those are your boys.
I had a couple days. I told Don earlier when the draft was happening, especially in the second round, that I wasn't a Kings fan anymore, and I was just done with them.
You can't leave your team.
I might have overreacted. I might have been a little emotional. I was furious. I was tweeting a mad storm of a fury of anger tweets because they were being so cheap. But we'll talk about that later. But I am a Kings fan still.
So let's
but I am.
Let's go through and I'll read off the top 10 picks, and then after that we'll discuss values and whatnot. First pick, Banchero. Going into the draft, everybody pretty much up until the last couple of days or week thought it was going to be Jabari Smith out of Auburn. But we knew Banchero was special. We knew that what he produces on the offensive level.
We love Banchero. It didn't make sense to me that he was supposed to go third this whole time, and up until the night before the draft. Like Banchero was good. Like that's a star. That's like young Melo. It's like young Melo. I love his offensive game. But never mind. Go ahead.
No, yeah, so Banchero, yeah, there definitely was, even though there was a last minute pivot, there definitely wasn't too much restriction or kind of a negative reaction in terms of him going number one because it made sense in terms of probably what the Magic need. They needed kind of that star power, someone that can give great offense, produce his own offense as well as get others involved as well.
I
And then number two,
love his passing ability. Love his passing ability.
Slender Man, Chet Holmgren. Those were my top two players. I think we discussed that. Those are my top two players because I was always kind of fading Jabari Smith a little bit. But those are 1, 2, and then you got Jabari Smith at 3. So we knew that those were going to be the top 3 players. It was just a matter of what order, right?
Where, yeah.
Little switch there. I think Thunder were kind of locked in on Chet for a while. They made their decision, so they did. I like that they kind of stuck there, didn't kind of flirt with the whole Jabari idea. Rockets got Jabari. Your Kings got Keegan, which we'll get to. Jaden Ivey, who was rumored to go to the Kings for a long time, largely rumored to be the 4th best overall player in the draft. We got Benedict Mathurin. We got Shaedon Sharpe, who just kind of his value just kind of sustained, even though he didn't play. And interesting enough, he ramped it all back up, and then he got hurt.
That's what's the number one. Get that number one high school number next to your name coming out of high school. That's what happens. Guaranteed lock top 10. Get that number one, baby. Get that number one high school prospect coming out of your high school class, and you're a lock number 10 no matter what you do. Point proven in Shaedon Sharpe and Wiseman.
Right. So we'll see. So I mean, he obviously got hurt, but we'll see if Shaedon Sharpe, how long he's going to be on the Blazers, right? I'm sure that they would like to push the envelope. They paid all that money to Lillard. They've got some other pieces. We'll see, if they long term or he's going to be inevitable that he's going to be traded for something else. We got G League God Dyson Daniels, and then we got Jeremy Sokin from Baylor going to the Spurs. We got Johnny Davis out of Wisconsin going to the Wizards, topping off the top 10. So now that we got the top 10 out there, let's talk about best fits or best value. Who's your guy? What did you like in terms of that was my favorite pick right there?
Best fit was probably Benedict Mathurin out of Arizona, going number 6 to the Pacers. Young rebuilding team. He's a second-year player, a sophomore player out of Arizona. But this fits perfectly next to Halliburton. Halliburton's kind of a pass-first guy, not as athletic as most of your modern day players. Sneaky athletic. He's more long. But Benedict Mathurin is explosive, kind of like that Jaden Ivey, a little taller shooting guard. But he can knock down a 3. He's good defensively. He's a slasher, which is perfect for Halliburton's game. I just love that pairing with getting your backcourt locked down and Halliburton and Benedict Mathurin. I was a little more a proponent of Kings drafting him, maybe going back to the 6th spot and getting like a Duarte and Mathurin over Murray. Like I would love that. Kings aren't that deep, like getting 2 players. So and he's been balling out in the summer league right now. He's been playing 22 minutes and averaging 20 points pretty much in the summer league. It's almost a point a minute. And he has low turnovers in the summer league. He's been balling out. I like what I see out of Mathurin so far. And it's pretty much what I saw out of this college tape. And best value, I'll probably have to go with Jalen Duren, 13th overall to the Pistons. I would have picked him top 8, top 9. Top 10. Johnny Davis, I would have picked with the Wizards. I would have picked if the Kings would have traded back so far down. I would have picked Jalen Duren, kind of put him with some bonus. But yeah, he's athletic. What you thought, I don't know if you remember what Willie Cauley-Stein was coming out of Kentucky. Just a lob threat. He's a slasher too. So, and he pairs well with what they got in Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey.
Right.
Well, Cade Cunningham's a little pass overall, can do everything a little bit, but I think that's a great pick. They got younger too. They made a couple of trades pre-draft, traded away their small forward to or power forward to the Blazers, and this is pretty much what they got. They got Jalen Duren for trading away. What's his name? Can't think of it. The Blazers got the dread and the ponytail. Anyways, Jalen Duren, best value. I love that. What do you got for your best fit and value?
Maybe maybe not the best value, but just kind of, I guess, commingling the two because it's not that much value. It's just the next pick, but the best fit for me. And I think we're kind of the opposite on this because we talked about this. I believe we do. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong. I like Jaden Ivey to the Pistons. I like the athleticism. I like that fit for that backcourt and the future prospects of that backcourt. I think a lot of how you feel about Banchero and his playmaking ability as well as his offensive production. That's how I feel about Cade Cunningham. I don't know if he's going to be the star that some of us thought he was going to be, but I like him next to Jaden Ivey. I think Jaden Ivey is a dog, much like a John Morant, right? Probably not quite that level of athleticism because it's kind of tough to put anybody in that space. But I like Jaden Ivey's athleticism. I like his ability to slash and get open in combination with Cade Cunningham and just kind of pairing those two long term. And Jaden Ivey can score too. He's not just somebody to just slash. I mean, there was a certain time where he was putting up 25, 24, 23, 25, 26. So I like that pick. I like him falling to the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, Jaden Ivey, that's a weird spot with me and him. He's an elite, to me, he's an elite runner and jumper. Not so much a basketball player, yet. Like he doesn't have the best feel for the game. Great dunker. Hasn't got the ability to kind of dribble in the crowd and kind of knock down the three yet. But once he does, like all the tools are there. Like being an elite jumper and runner is part of basketball. But once he gets that dribble down and has a feel for the game, he's not going to have to be like a point guard first because that's Cade Cunningham's job.
Exactly.
He's got to play off with Cunningham. It's a good fit. Like, yeah, it's a good fit. And it's not. He got bad value. Yeah. Like he's definitely a top 5 pick with this draft. But yeah, it makes sense where he went, and yeah, I like that. But I think he's more of an athlete right now, which
exactly
you could turn into a basketball player.
Yeah, I think this is a good fit, like you said. I think Cade Cunningham could take a lot of pressure on him in terms of not having to have the ball, make those high basketball IQ decisions, at least early on, as he learns to be a basketball player instead of an athlete, right? I think those things can be taught. Those things can be learned over time. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with that backcourt. But as of right now, on paper, I'm excited about that combination and the long-term prospects there. So I think the Pistons definitely have 2 solid players. So let's go to the worst value of the worst pick, the pick that you didn't like in the draft.
I'm not too hot on what the Thunder did. Chet made sense. You had to pick one of those 3 guys. I could have made the argument for Jabari Smith, but Chet, he's good. He's great defensively. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins Defensive Player of the Year, to be honest, this year. Like, he is great defensively. It's a little skinny, so he might get kind of knocked around a little bit, but we'll see. I'm not as hot on him offensively yet.
Right.
But defensively, yeah. But they had picks 11 and 12, or they had picks 12, and they traded 3 picks away to get the 11th overall pick to the New York Knicks and got a player I do not like, really. Not really a great basketball player. And this guy out of New Zealand, I think he's from French, though, plays out of New Zealand, Ousmane Dieng. They traded a lot to get that pick. It doesn't make sense. I'd rather pick Jalen Duren there or Tari Eason or maybe AJ Griffin, maybe. And then Jalen Williams, it's all right. But they just had they traded so much value and had so much value going into the draft. They didn't get much out of it. Chet Holmgren, like I said, solid pick. I like that. But they had 2 more picks. They had 3 picks in the top 12, and they came out of it. I'm not so impressed with that draft haul. So I think Thunder will probably just come out of the draft for me. Wizards, too, they haven't had impressive drafts the past couple of years. Johnny Davis, Ryu, Hachimura, and then there's another guy, too, that is just been meh. Like, they don't really draft that. They kind of like draft like the Kings, kind of more like proven 4-year players, 3-year players. But the thing is with the Wizards, they're picking more between 10 to 14 than the Kings are picking 6 to like 9. But yeah, Thunder, Wizards, meh, kind of whatever. Thunder, they have so much assets and they could have done a little bit better.
Nice. Yeah. So for me, I think I spoke about him earlier. Shane Sharp. I didn't like the fit. I didn't like the pick. For me, it felt like, slightly different, but it felt like the Blazers have been here before in terms of getting a combo guard, getting a guard that can come in, score, get buckets alongside Damian Lillard, right? If in theory they're going to keep him. They've been here before. I think I would have liked to have gotten someone that's more has a long-term prospect of being an all-around guard. There's obviously the level of opportunity on the defensive end to Shaedon Sharpe, but where his shine is, or where his his future, or what am I trying to say here? Where he produces his value is on the offensive side, in theory, right? Yeah. And being able to play make, create his own offense, whatever the case may be. So I didn't love the pick there for the Blazers. Obviously,
I can see that.
Yeah, if you feel that you're going to move him, by all means do so, and that was the best value. I guess it's an okay range, but in all honesty, if you're going to keep him, I don't like the fit. I don't like the fit.
It's a little redundant to Anthony Simons. Anthony Simons. He's an offensive power horse.
Right.
And Shaedon Sharpe, he's supposed to be that too. Probably a month or two ago, I was probably just fucking lead caboose of the Shaedon Sharpe train. I wanted him to go top 5. The draft process played out, and I'm like, Sharpe is not showing as much as I thought he would. He's kind of just hiding a lot.
You were texting me like, you could take Sharpe out. I was all right. I'll take him out.
And going forward,
the Kings.
Exactly. Going forward, I would have picked Dyson Daniels. He got picked one pick behind Sharpe with the Pelicans. I would have picked him. He's exactly what you're talking about. More of an all-around guard, a ball distributor. He's a 6'8", like pretty much point forward. A little younger, came out of the G League, but Dyson Daniels, he's got all the tools. That's another player I wanted the Kings to target if they were going to trade back. But I can see that. Top 7. It's a little rich for Shaedon Sharpe, especially after him hiding all draft process. But
exactly, good word.
We'll see. He's kind of like how maybe the Cavaliers will treat Wiggins when they got LeBron. Kind of like as a trade tool. Well, I'm sure. I don't know if they knew they were going to get LeBron at the time, but
right. So let's see. Before we close out the draft, let's talk about what the Kings did, at least at the 4. Let's talk about. We got to talk about Keegan Murray now that you've had the opportunity to digest it all. Those you don't know, Keegan Murray out of Iowa. He was selected 4th overall by the Sacramento Kings. And so let's give him his flowers first. So Keegan Murray was a great, definitely top 3 college players last year.
Yeah.
However, the issue with Keegan Murray obviously is, where's the potential, because he's substantially older than his contemporaries in that first 10, right? I believe he's going to start the season basically at 22, while you have other guys that are 19, definitely 20 or 20 or under. So in terms of fit, in terms of where they got him, it being weeks later in the draft, what you've seen in summer league, how do you feel about the Kings getting Keegan Murray 4th overall?
A little more optimistic now, to be honest. But I still would prefer to trade back. I was okay with Murray. I just wanted to trade back. Ford was such an ugly spot. Mathurin, as we talked about, and Dyson Daniels, and even Jalen Duren were fans I was targeting when I traded back. And get more assets. Kings needs to get assets, build for the future. They're so stuck in winning now, which is just whatever to me. But it was a perfect fit. Like it fit perfectly. I understand all the Keegan Murray fans. It just fit perfectly. They needed a wing that can score, that could defend, that's a little bit more ready to play right when it hits the floor, because he's been out of high school for like 3 or 4 years already, turning 22. So I understand where they were coming from. And he's shown a lot more in the summer league than I've seen in his college shape. He scored probably 50% more off the dribble in the summer league than he did in his last year of Iowa. Like I just read that stat, and that's not what I saw. Like that's what I saw out of Iowa. Like he wasn't scoring off the dribble, and he's dribbling. He's getting his little moves, his little like 1-2 dribbles, fade away, post up, kind of like cutting, running without the ball, kind of like Klay Thompson curl shooting. Like you didn't really see all that in Iowa. But it's coming to life now, and I can see the optimistic view with Kings fans.
Yeah.
I'm not like these guys think they want to build a statue outside of outside of Golden One Center already. Like, let's slow it down. He can't dribble right now. Like his dribble is loose as hell. He can't. He could do like a 1-2-3 dribble, little fade away, but he's not gonna blah 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 blah. Like it's gone. which is it's.
All right.
He's a rookie, but he's supposed to be a ready to play. Which it's all right. 2-3 years of what am I saying? 2 or 3 years of
experience.
No.
King's lifestyle.
No, you don't want that. Not process. Anyways, give him 2-3 years of work, I guess you would say, and he'll get there. And I'm optimistic. You got to trade Harrison Barnes because he's kind of like blocking his playing position because he's more of a 4 than 3. But I see it. I'm not a hater. I'm more hating on the Kings. They had 2 second-round picks, 35 and like 47, and they traded away for cash and like future seconds that we'll never see. That's what I was mad at. And like, if you're a Kings team, if you're a low market, small market team, you need to hit on the second rounders. You can't like push them. Like that's what the money's made at. Like you can't just trade them away for nothing. You gotta like bring in value, get value where other teams don't see value. Because you're not gonna get free agents. You gotta hit on those second rounders, and maybe like if they're a player or two, like Anthony Simmons or something like that, or like
Kyle Kuzma.
The Pelicans guard Herb, what's his face, and use him as a trade chip, but they just traded away for cash because I think they're broke or something. I don't know why they did that. I don't see the value.
So so let's so we're at the 42 mark, so we're getting pretty late. So let's just briefly talk about what things that we liked really quick and something that we didn't like in free agency. So I'll give some Kings credit since we beat them up a little bit. For the small, the few moves that they made, I think that the Kings realized that they needed to increase the 3-point shooting. That's where the NBA is at. They needed more shooting. That's where the NBA is at. They needed more shooting. So that what they do, traded for Kevin Huerter from Atlanta, who's pretty much was kind of probably not the odd man out, but he's going to be probably more maximized on the Kings rotation. And then getting a baller like Malik Monk. I was hoping that the Lakers can find a way to keep him on the low, but smartly, he left for a little bit more money. And probably maybe a bigger opportunity. So I like that for the Kings. They realized that they needed to increase the 3-point shooting, and both of them shot around 39 to 40% last year behind the arc. So I like that for the Kings, and then kind of, I guess, building in the effort of building both of our teams up. I like that the Lakers somewhat learned their lesson in terms of signing guys that are younger, more athletic, have more versatility. Bringing in guys like Lonnie Walker, Troy Brown Jr., Thomas Bryant, Damian Jones, guys that have potential to get better as they're playing, and they just have athleticism. They have versatility. You're not these older guys that are very limited that may have a niche of what they can do good, but they don't have they can't contribute across the board. They don't play defense with it. They don't do this. They don't have that. So I like what the Lakers did there in terms of changing those habits and understanding that they fucked up last year. What about you? And I also like really quick, and the Clippers, obviously, John Wall's done, but to get John Wall on the team, a motivated John Wall, I think there's still something left in the tank. I think that's key. If John Wall was going to be playing for some other team and he was the guy, but now that you get him on a team where he's going to be the third or fourth guy in terms of putting someone on him, guarding him. That can be scary in theory if he can stay healthy and you can get a motivated John Wall. And then finally, I like Brogdon to the Celtics. I like that move. Probably took yours, but I like that move.
Yeah,
I'll let you take
my hand motion. So with the Celtics, it wasn't really a free agent move, but it was during the free agent period, and they solidified what they kind of lacked in the finals. Kind of needed more ball handlers because Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown couldn't really handle the ball that well. Marcus Smart was pretty much the only ball handler, and not Kobe White really, but it kind of mimics their move that they had with White last year. Just getting more depth, another ball handler who can score, distribute. I love that move. It might be a little underrated, but it might be a difference maker going forward. It's only an issue he's injured often, but he could be something. He could be a difference maker into the playoffs. And then my other is nothing special or outstanding, but it's just the Bucks. Ingles, they got Ingles for the low, a shooter, knockdown shooter, surround him with Drew Holiday and Giannis, and they locked down Portis again, a little hefty on the contract, it was like 4 years, $44 million, but he brings that Draymond Green mentality, not comparing players, just that mentality, kind of like
right.
the beef, and kind of just that mean guy on the court at the time. And he's a good player though. He rebounds. He can knock down a three. Didn't do really much, but I just didn't really fuck up anything. But yeah, those are 2 teams I had. There wasn't really a clear winner to me. Really, that was the outstanding winner. So it's kind of hard picking the teams. But I like what the Celtics did. That was Brogdon. They didn't really give up much. They gave up a first rounder and Aaron Nesmith, who could be a 3-point specialist going forward, and then like 2 or 3 like end of the roster guys. But for what they paid, I like it.
Yeah, and they realize that this is their window. This window to win now. You see the Jazz, they're blowing their shit up, but
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So I feel like with the Jazz, it was like that was such a good price. You can't deny that.
Yeah, yeah.
They probably was like, "Fuck, you're you can have them."
Are you sure?
Oh, you sure? All right. Well, I was gonna run it back, but fuck it.
Yeah. So we'll touch on that right now. So, but for that, there wasn't. I mean, in terms of what I hated, I mean, I didn't like the Knicks paying that much for Brunson. I think we're both on the line of that, right? I believe that's probably what you're gonna pay. And we've had these conversations, but I mean, probably a little bit much. And then the Warriors, you just mentioned Otto Porter, right? Otto Porter, Gary Payton, I think, and there's another guy too.
They got the Kings, one of the Kings guys, Dante DiVincenzo. I like him though.
But I would have liked them to keep one of the two, in Payton or Porter. I would have liked to keep one of them. I think those are 2 players that definitely contribute in terms of ancillary help, in terms of the stretch run, and in the playoffs too. Otto Porter was one of the glue. He was like you said, Draymond Green light. He was great in terms of defense, rebounding, hitting the open threes. Yeah. So
I think Dante and Otto Porter would be a seamless transition. But Gary Payton, that's the sticky part. But they do have Kuminga, who's got all the tools to be that player. A little bigger, but I think he does. And then Moody too. Like he's more of a shooter.
Yep. But the key was they did the right thing. The key was they knew that damn well they had to bring back Looney, and they got it done, got the deal done ASAP too. So then we have the Rudy Gobert trade. Let's talk about what happened.
Let me talk on one of my losers real quick. I was going to say the Nets shit show. It's not their fault. It's more of like Durant and Kyrie, but they sold out on them, and we'll see what the hell's going on. They didn't do anything. I'm sure they couldn't really do anything with free agency. They signed Mills and TJ Warren. We'll see going forward what to do, but it's not looking good for them, to say the least, depending on what they got in Durant. Looks like the price is pretty high for Durant, rightfully so. Both Irving, I don't like what the returns they would get from the Lakers is just disgusting. I don't know what they're going to do. They're just, they're sticky situations at least. They got Ben Simmons.
Yeah. Well, as a Laker fan, I'm like, yo, come on over. We're like looking at the Nets, like, hey, dog, you better take this one pick.
I can't believe Irving to the Lakers for what they're offering is like the Niners getting Trent Williams for like a 3rd-round pick. That's what Trent Williams got.
Yep.
And because he has leverage and like everything, but it's wild. But that's tackle and offense for a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah, man. So we'll see what happens with that. Before we get to Rudy Gobert, we'll stay that's on there because these are our last 2 NBA items. What is your prediction on Kyrie and KD in terms of their share? Do they both stay? One go?
I don't know. It's gonna be a while. I don't really see Durant going with the Nets, even though I hate this trend in basketball this past 10 years or whatever. He just signed a 4-year contract, and now he's just like,
I'm good.
Yeah, like what the fuck, bro? Come on.
Yeah.
But I mean,
to his defense, I mean, he's got I'm sure he signed with the intention that Kyrie would be all the way in, and then COVID happened. Now Kyrie's like telling people that, I'm on my time. I'm not going to do the vaccine and this, that. And so he didn't sign expecting all those things to happen. He signed he sat the year. COVID happened. Kyrie doubled down on his
it's kind of wild to me. Like
the earth is
such a big commitment. Like, how did Durant not know that was going to happen? It's not like I think he probably did he sign with
COVID.
No, like COVID was happening, right? And then Kyrie and Durant. Was it before COVID even happened?
It was before, because remember KD signed at the end of 2019. After the 2019 season, then he sat all the 2019-2020 season.
Yeah. Okay. It's like, hey, before I sign with you, Kyrie, what if a virus took over the world? Would you take the vaccine?
Yeah.
No, okay, all right. Kind of mixed up, but Durant.
Yeah, it's sticky.
I don't know. So what the rumors are, the price is high, which it should be. I think between the Suns and the Heat, in my opinion, I think the Suns can get it done. They got a lot of good pieces that they could trade, and he wants to go there for some reason. It's funny, Durant always wants to go to a top 2 team in the playoffs the previous year.
Yeah, I mean the key is DeAndre Ayton, right? Because there's teams out there that want to. I think it was Indiana Pacers, that teams that want to sign him to that qualifying offer that forces basically they would be out in terms of being able to trade for Kevin Durant. I don't have the exact methodology of the numbers of why it won't work, but basically if someone would sign them, then pretty much locks them into that financially and for the cap, so they can't trade for him anyways.
Yeah, you got to be committed to that number. Durant actually going to the Suns, and Irving, I think he just might stay, man. And they might just run it back with him or something. I just don't see if the Lakers getting him.
Come on.
And if it's not the Lakers, then I don't know who else it would be. And I just don't see it that. I don't know. It's just a cheap price.
Yeah,
good for you, but good for the Laker fans and everything. But like, it's so cheap for Russell Westbrook and a first-round pick. Like, Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, I think it goes back to kind of what's the player that we had? Baker Mayfield or someone. If under the right situation, this is not a comparison in talent, but more the mentality. Under the right situation, under the right people, I think the Lakers, like you said, Lakers is the only team that makes sense. Where Kyrie, they'll get a motivated Kyrie that wants to prove everybody wrong, wants to win, wants to do all those types of things, right? I don't think it doesn't make sense. I think the price is only cheap because others know that they'll get probably the best version of Kyrie in LA with LeBron. That's where he actually wants to be. If he goes somewhere else, it might be a shit show there too. It might, get broken down. I can't see that happening in LA with LeBron and him destroying the culture and all those things. I can't see that happening. Obviously, there's always going to be a risk because the dude's a weirdo. But, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens to Kyrie. Hopefully the Nets, they ultimately just pull their pants down so the Lakers can just do what they want to do. And give me Kyrie. Give me Kyrie.
Stop it. Somehow, some way, Lakers always fucking winners.
Speaking of trade rate, basically, Rudy Gobert. We got Rudy Gobert going to the Timberwolves for Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverley, Leandro B, Bomero. I don't even know who that is. Walker Kessler. I
love Walker Kessler.
Walker Kessler. He's the pick 20. I think 21st, 22nd pick in this draft. Jared Vanderbilt, 2023 first round pick, 2025 first round pick. 2026 pick swap, 2027 first round pick, 2029 first round pick. And I'd have to look and see, where the protection is on all of these. But I would imagine 2023 first round pick won't mean shit.
All the picks are unprotected, for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, 2023. I mean, some of that in the front end might be good, right? So it's not pushed back, right? 2023 first round pick. That's going to mean shit. 2025, 20s. Probably going to be nothing. But yeah, I think we're in agreement that this is obviously a deal that Utah Jazz probably run the fence in terms of what they should do with the team. This kind of it swung them in the right direction. Like, okay, we have to take this offer. Yeah. You're going to give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 picks?
Like 7, 8 trade asset or draft assets. Yeah. They realize
the players are going to be gone. They're going to be dropped. Patrick Beverley, DC. I don't know what they're going to do. They're probably going to be released, but or traded, whatever the case may be. But Kessler and the picks, they're going to be there.
Yeah, I like Kessler a lot. I thought he would go a little later in the draft, but team saw what I saw, so they picked him 20th. He could have been picked like 15th, and I would have been cool with it. I think he's going to be really good defensively. But the Jazz overpaid, and it's not for a special player. It's not like for someone that's going to change a series. He's going to be good defensively, and it says they're all in on Anthony Edwards, and which they should be a little bit. I'm not sure if they chose the right player. And they just lacked it. It makes sense a bit. It does make sense. Like, Cat is not a defensive powerhouse. D'Angelo Russell, definitely not a powerhouse defensively. And so it makes sense. I get it. But the league isn't a too big league right now. That's why they like the Kings trading for Domantas Sabonis, because you don't win with fucking centers right now. It doesn't really make sense. But it makes sense.
Right.
And maybe it's their difference maker, and maybe they're going to try to shift the league to that way and make the league adapt to them. Then, all right, that's a little forward thinking. I could see that. It makes sense if you want to be that forward thinking. But they overpaid, in my opinion.
Right.
It's just Ant is a superstar. I think he's a superstar. That's what they're saying to me right now. But there's just a lot of draft capital, man. And Jazz could not turn it down. And they rightfully did so, but not turning it down, because they said, we're not going to win a championship with this team. They saw that. I saw that. And they said, if we wait a year or two, we're not going to get this at age 32, Gobert. We're not going to get this package. So they pulled the trigger, and I applaud it for that, being ballsy and not just being emotional and running it back with the same team. Like, yeah, switch it up a little bit. Like, you're going to be stuck in that 4 to 7 range for like the next 5 years, and who knows, you might get lucky. Not only like, it's not like they're going to draft like these draft picks each year and not do anything with them. Like, now they have draft capital to make a move and get like fucking a disgruntled star and do something with it. So love the Jazz aspect of it.
Yeah, I guess the only good thing about the Wolves is that I think there truly was a need. I think defense was one of the biggest things that they needed. Interior defense. Cat is great offensively, but he's a liability. He's trash on defense. I mean, he's going to get pat the stats in terms of rebounds, but in terms of defensive efficiency, obviously Rudy Gobert is going to provide that for them. They're actually 24th in the league in terms of defensive points per game. Bottom 10 in terms of rebounds per game. So yeah, I mean, they're trading for need, but they obviously overpaid. That's where we're at. So let's transition. We're almost at the hour mark. Let's transition really quick. Let's talk about MLB Trade Deadline. As we know, MLB Trade Deadline is one of the wildest deadlines in sports, because when you throw out cap space, it's pretty much at the discretion of the teams in terms of what the owners are willing to pay for prospects and also overall salary. You know, obviously they're going to have to pay luxury taxes and whatnot, but it's pretty much an open check where people can really wheel and deal. So speaking to that, the latest is that the best player, arguably the best player, probably the best player that's available or considered available, right? Everything's unofficial. But Luis Castillo has been lately rumored to go to the Dodgers, right? Obviously, there's a true need there for the Dodgers. He's the favorite there. We know Trevor Bauer's not coming to that door anytime soon. We know that they've got Kershaw, but we know Kershaw and his durability issues as the season goes on. We know that obviously Urias is going to be big time. He's shown that, but he's shown it for 1 or 2 years, but he's always shown that he's going to be big time. He's going to be there. However, Walker Buehler, obviously, he's on the 60-day DL or IL. We'll see what he's able to contribute. He should be able to jump back in. Needless to say, though, they needed an additional starter, so it only makes sense there getting Luis Castillo. However, my question for you, mainly for this, is that as of right now, the bullpen situation for the Dodgers. They got Craig Kimbrell, in which they got in the offseason. I believe they traded for him. And right now, I believe his ERA is about 4.6. He has blown about a handful of saves. And even the saves that he's getting, he's playing with fire every single time. So you're a Dodger fan too, fellow Dodger fan, as I might add, as I am too. But do you think the Dodgers can stay status quo with their bullpen now? Meaning Craig Kimbrell, eventually what they get from Blake Trinan when he comes back, Dan Hudson, I believe we'll see when he comes back. I'll have to look at what that projects. And obviously the emergence of Gratterall. I mean, do you think that they have to make a move?
They gotta. I think they should make another move for a bullet piece. It doesn't gotta be exactly a closer. They'll have Blake Tranian, if I'm not wrong, coming back in a bit. And they're more of a scenario situation by inning and by game type of. They don't have a set-in closer, even though it might look like it with Kimbrel and Jansen. It looks like it, but in my eyes, I think they'll throw Gratterall in the playoffs if they have to, or they'll throw Julio Urias in the playoffs if they have to, or something like that. So they just got to add another bullpen arm, I think, and they'll have Dustin May coming back and as a starter. I'm all for them adding Luis Castillo too, but there's like 3 or 4 untouchable guys I think they got to add, or they can't touch. If they could get him or like Frankie Montas or another step below for like their second tier prospects, I'm cool with it. But I don't want to them sacrifice their top 5 pool to get Luis Castillo, which is more, I think, in my eyes, is more of a luxury pick a little bit. When Buehler comes back to, not Buehler, Buehler's out, right?
Yeah, Buehler's out. Buehler's on a 60-day DL right now.
Yeah, so they'll get help. They're a little devastated with injuries and pitching areas, but they'll bounce back. They just got a lot of injuries right now, but yeah, they got to come back.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, what kind of catapult Luis Castillo was always going to be one of the top options, but Frankie Montas from the A's, he had the injury a week or 2 ago. They were supposed to be kind of that 2-headed dragon in terms of the top arms available.
Frankie Montas was a former Dodger prospect. We traded him and another pitcher for Rich Hill and J Reddick. Or what's his name? Not JJ Reddick. The outfielder from the
Josh Reddick.
Yeah. Josh Reddick.
Yeah.
Josh Reddick. Yeah, that was a good trade.
I remember Josh Reddick being on the A's.
Yeah.
Yep.
JJ Reddick.
For sure, and it's so it'll be interesting to see what some of these teams do. Obviously, we have I
want the Giants to make some moves. I wrote down some things. Pittsburgh, the Pirates, they have Brian Reynolds, the outfielder. Giants need some life. The Giants are they're so good, but they're so cheap, and I hate that for their fans. And then I know they're we're rivals and they've won a lot of championships, but they are cheap. They're cheap for something so good. They're so cheap. They could get Brian Reynolds as the outfielder of Pittsburgh. They could get Sean Murphy. They need a catcher, or Contreras from the Cubs. Joey Bart hasn't been as good. They sent him back to AAA. He hasn't been as good as they thought they would be. Or Betemende. Get some life in the Giants. Like, that's good for the Dodgers. And like I showed up to that game 5 playoff game with the Giants and Dodgers, and that's so good for the rivalry. A good Giants team is better for the league. I'm all for a better league. So get some life in the Giants. Come on, man.
Absolutely. So an interesting team to look out for. Honestly, a fun team is on the AL East is the Baltimore Orioles. Right, they've won 9 games in a row. They're currently at 500. It'll be tough sledding for them to continue this in that particular division. But there's been fun to watch them over the last week or 2. Them winning a lot of games, they're having a lot of fun. I think they could potentially make a move for a pitcher, maybe I don't know. We'll see what happens, but that's a fun team to watch. So we'll see what happens, what develops for the MLB trade deadline. I think we're at the 1 hour and 3-minute mark, so we'll wrap it up and we'll kind of parlay and continue on with college football next segment. But I think we did a good job of covering NFL, what to expect. Obviously, fantasy will be wrapping up, guys, so we'll start to really produce our rankings. We put the quote out, or the story out there, the poll out there to see what rankings you guys want first. Naturally, you guys pick quarterback rankings, so ideally, we'd love to push out our quarterback rankings here soon. Thank you for rocking with us, rocking with your boys. Don here in LA, Albert in Sacramento. Once again, it's always love. If you're watching it on YouTube, definitely hit that like or subscribe button. If you're watching on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, appreciate the love. Definitely subscribe there and continue to rock with your boy. Albert, before we close, you have anything else for?
I have a new computer, laptop coming, and a new mic, and maybe a little light
Sleep on
situation.
us.
So yeah, come on now.
Come on now.
I got a setup. So I'm working with what I
Let's
got.
go.
I'm working with what I
For the
got.
bottom.
This off season is coming in hot. Some things are coming in. So as good as
Absolutely.
I look right now, I'm gonna look better and sound better.
Absolutely.
And it's all for you
Absolutely.
guys. It's all for you guys. So
Yes,
hope
sir.
you guys appreciate it because I'm excited for it.
Absolutely. Getting better with every episode. Once again, we appreciate all the support.